We should be live now. I'm just going to quickly jump over to YouTube. There's a bit of a delay with YouTube and Riverside, so it'll probably pop up in a few seconds. But anyone
Cool, I
who's
see it.
watching, anyone who's watching now, please let us know and let us know that everything looks okay and sounds okay.
Yeah, I just checked it. Looks good.
Awesome. So we've got 10 people that have joined us so far. So
Cool.
welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. And hopefully we get some more along the way. We'll just give uh, people another minute just to join in and let YouTube catch up with us. And I'll just have a quick drink of water.
Cool.
Awesome. Okie dokie. I think we're good.
Cool. So I think we're going to go through, Haley, you made a bunch of questions, and then we're going to do some Q&A as well, right? So we're going to talk about some stuff concept art animation wise, right? And then we'll go into questions that people might have that we can unpack a
Exactly.
little bit. And so we can see the comments and the questions. So we'll look at them together, and then I'll just pick some that I think are relevant.
Yeah. So yes, thank you for joining me today, Shaddy. I'm very excited about a conversation and just to um, be open. Shaddy and I have known each other for a little while, and we've hung out quite a few times, worked together a little bit, and we met in person properly at Annecy this year, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
Um, so I've now invited him onto my channel. So I'm excited for this conversation, all about animation, concept art, and the industry. So we're going to delve right in. But first of all, for those who maybe haven't come across Shaddy before, Shaddy is the founder of OnePixelBrush, an amazing concept art studio, and most recently has some new endeavors which we're going to jump into. But Shadi, you've been in the industry for about, well, concept art and gaming and films and the industry in general around 15 years. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's about
Production
right.
design, yeah.
Hmm.
And One Pixel Brush has been around for a while as well, and you've worked on some amazing projects.
Yeah,
And you've even won a few Art Director Guild awards or two
yeah,
as well.
yeah. For not being in the Art Directors Guild, I have won a few, and we got
Oh,
nominated for about seven. Yeah, apparently you don't have to be in it to win it.
even more impressive.
Yeah.
And of course, you've done lots of talks, and you'll see lots more about Shadi if you just Google. So you can watch all previous talks on there. There's some awesome talks. I think there's a really popular one. It's on CG Meetup from a while ago where you did an interview and you talked all about the industry, but that was a while ago.
Well,
So
it was the Concept Art is Dead talk from the Game Developers Conference about maybe now 12 years ago. That
yeah,
has the most views, and it's a kind of a prescient name since the state of concept art right now. I was being tongue in cheek at the time, but now we really do have a problem.
yeah. Yes, we'll get into that as well. Um, so, moving on to some questions, and for everyone who's watching, please, we will be stopping this interview to pass on to your Q&A. So please ask anything and everything you've ever wanted to know about animation, the industry, concept art, or Shaddy, or One Pixel Brush, anything at all. We're an open book, or Shaddy's an open book today.
Hmm.
I'll just be listening intently. So let's get straight into the questions. Why concept art? Quick
Oh,
question.
okay. Well, I think concept art is the coolest profession because it's like the most. You make most of the decisions, and you're the first person who makes any decisions. So right now, actually, it's interesting because we're talking about what's going to happen with concept art, right, or what's happening with concept art
Yeah.
in the face of AI, because AI is so unbelievably good for most people to get the job done. And so the pool of concept art is shrinking dramatically uh, in the last couple years, just since AI came out, and everybody's feeling it. And also, games are shrinking, films are shrinking. But I think Concept art is still kind of the most fun because it's the one where you get to come up with the ideas and visualize them and create them. I think it's kind of a super job. It's like an extreme job that combines a ton of art and a ton of technical knowledge. And the people that do it on the highest levels are some of the most insanely like artistic and technical people. Like imagine back when we started 15 years ago, you would have a 3D modeler, you would have a texture artist, then you would have a lighting artist, and then you would have a concept artist to do sketches, and then you would have a layout artist. You'd have like 7 or 8 people, and now that's all one. That all can be one concept artist. So that idea that you can be a, jack of all trades but master of none, I found that to just be an expression. That's just a group of words, because you can be a master of like a lot of things. Because the things that you become masterful at don't take a lifetime. It doesn't take 25 years to learn how to texture a 3D object. So now concept artists are kind of like these super human, like artists slash engineers slash technical people. And we were just talking internally what the future of it is. And using I think the humongous amount of like talent and skill that modern concept artists have, I think there's a lot of interesting opportunities for where we could go. Because it's certainly not going to stay just doing one image picture for clients. I think that those days are coming more or less to a close because of AI.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure we'll be touching on AI a bit more as well as we go. And tools in general, I guess, have evolved across your career. And
Yeah.
you've used some really cool tools for 2 of your projects, your animation projects that we'll get into.
Mm.
But in general, how is that, if you look at it sort of holistically over your career, how is it sort of, has there been little pivot points on where you've really seen the artistry change because of a tool, or just general
Well, yeah,
industry?
it changed like a bunch of times because like back in Star Wars days, it was like markers, and then it became Photoshop, digital drawing on a tablet, and then it became photo bashing, where you were taking photos and putting them on your image. You were trying to make it so the photos integrated with your image, but the photo was giving you some detail that you didn't have to hand paint, and by paint I mean virtually paint with the
Yeah.
tablet. And then Blender or 3D came out. It started with Modo. We were starting to use Modo, and it started with like making a bunch of gray blocks
Yeah.
just to get your perspective down. So you would have that in Photoshop, and it would give you like basically a template for your perspective. So your perspective would be really accurate because it was based on 3D. But then, people got better and better and be like, oh, it's not that hard to texture an object. Well, it's not that hard to light an object. And the graphics cards got better and better. So right now, if you have a good graphics card, you can move the light in your scene and see it update immediately. So you can create a composition and work with it instantly, or see it relatively instantly. So
Yeah.
every graphics card update made it easier and easier to work in 3D. You still have to be smart about how you're working in 3D. You have to work efficiently and low poly, and you have to like do a bunch of things to make it work. But now it became 3D. So concept artists used to be drawing. Now they're taking their drawing skills, because you do have to have drawing skills, in my view, and applying it to 3D compositions. So it changed dramatically. And I would say, like, the artist that maybe 20 years ago was like, I don't want to use 3D, you would kind of not fault him. You'd be like, yeah, 3D is gross. It's hard. It's technical. It certainly isn't like drawing. It doesn't have the same flow. So it's like the whole profession dramatically changed.
Yeah.
And now with AI, we're still figuring out what it's going to look like. But I am imagining that the future will look like, I mean, we rarely get a client brief anymore that doesn't already have AI generations in it.
Uh,
So because why wouldn't a client do that? Even if they're not officially using AI, why wouldn't they sort of say, hey, we got this idea, why don't I type a sentence into Midjourney and see what happens?
yeah.
So a lot of briefs we're getting, most would have some generations in it. And so then the ask will be something like, well, this is close to what we want, but it's not quite what we want. So then you say, okay, well, where's the concept artist fit into that? Well, what I found just from practical jobs is that, like, okay, well, to change it a little bit, we kind of need to build it in 3D from scratch. So if the AI gets you 80% of the way, right now, it seems like you still need a concept artist for the last 20%. And maybe the AI saves time in that it gets the client's vision, gets them closer to realizing what they want, and then we do the last 20%. But that last 20% sometimes involves remaking the whole thing in 3D so we can easily move the lights.
Yeah.
So I'm just talking about what seems to be the reality, but it's changing kind of monthly. So there might be a tool that there's some amazing tools that turn, let's say, a flat image into 3D or a flat character into 3D. There's like 3 or 4 AI gens that do that. So there could be, now what I wish would happen is AI would like get better at like retopologizing or doing the technical shit that an artist doesn't want to do. You know, the part where it's like, actually take this 3D that isn't game efficient, look at it, analyze it, and put it in Unreal and make it very efficient in Unreal. Now that would be a job for AI. That would be fantastic for AI. But unfortunately, that's still for the humans. And AI is like horning in on like the creative aspect.
Yeah. Interesting. And then going back to the client part, the interaction that you have now with clients, has that changed because of that? Because now instead of them coming to you with like, I don't know, maybe a napkin with notes or just an idea in their heads about what they want, they're actually sending you a visualization now. So does that help you?
Yeah, and I think in some cases, and this just speaks to like one of my core values, which is to provide value, not to make money. So sometimes I'll get an AI gen from somebody, either a big client or a small client, and I'll be like, just use this. And they're like, oh, but I need an artist to work on it. I'm like, you love this, right? Like you love it? Well, then use it. Like, and oftentimes I would say they literally refuse to let me talk them out of me making money. They refuse. They'll say, no, we really want you to kind of redo this thing that's already looks pretty good from our perspective. And then sometimes I pause it. I just ask. I'm like, so if you'd seen an image of this quality 5 years ago and you didn't know about AI, would you say it was good enough to, make your key art or make your thing? They're like, yeah. But people are really upset about AI right now, so we can't use it. I'm like, okay, I just want to check. So the reason I behave this way is because I don't want to do a job that doesn't need to be done. I don't want to do a job that doesn't need to be done. So I'm trying from now to find out where can we actually provide value? What is still remaining that necessitates us or necessitates a concept artist? And right now, because there's so much backlash against AI, that backlash is kind of the thing holding it back a little bit, but that's not going to last forever in my view. People are going to stop caring. And then, maybe not, I don't know. Maybe there'll be a small subsection of people that really do still care, but for the mainstream, your average person, not an artist like us, we're always going to be pissed. But your average person is going to stop caring or stop noticing, or the AI is going to get better or stop being able to tell the difference. And once it hits that point, I want to know what my job is still going to be. Yeah. And that's something that we're still figuring out.
Okay. Yeah, so at this stage, obviously, we're in the kind of eye of the storm, I feel, at the moment. So maybe it's a bit difficult to judge, but have you personally, from OnePixelBrush point of view, or anyone that you know in a similar situation, have you noticed a downturn in general projects coming through, and do you think that's because of AI, or is it just because of general industry stuff that's going on right now?
Yeah, there's a huge downturn. We're much slower than we used to be. And the busiest we are was during COVID, but that was also when they were making the most games. So I would say for sure AI, because even when we do get AI jobs, the generations have done a lot of our work for us, and the ask might be something small. So the job will be much smaller. It'll be 20% of what it was. It could have been a 3-week job, and now it's a 3-day job because they got these generations, and they just need them built in 3D so they can make 3D prints of them, and we're slotting in our skills. Now, the one good news is a concept artist, modern concept artist on our team, has such a broad depth of skill. They have like this deep bench. They know 1,000 things. And let's say the AI figured out 850. Well, you still need the pro to do the last 150. Whatever the last pieces are, you need a high-level pro to be able to do that. So, and then another cool thing is, as these tools, well, here's the crux of it. And Andrew Price talks about this. He's the Blender guru who made the most famous donut making tutorial for Blender. He's kind of the guy a lot of the reason behind Blender's popularity is because he made such great intro tutorials. But these same tools that ruin our life, destroy our jobs, are the very same ones that help you as a creator make your own thing for very cheaply if you saw fit.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to get, well, that's not the only reason, but that was because I started thinking about animation before AI, but that's why I started wanting to make my own animated shorts because we made the short, Christo the Civilized Barbarian, last year that came out, and we won tons of festivals, and we won Annecy, as you were there, and that's imagine that's basically three people in like 4 months, made
Yeah.
like 8 minutes of 3D animation. Now it's certainly not Pixar level, but it's going to get there because there's going to be probably an AI that like takes decent motion capture, and you'll be a slider that you slide that says you can hear the voice AI, you know the emotion that's intended, you know the style of Pixar animation. Can you dial it up? And then if it was up to me and I was making my own short, right, and it was about telling my story, then I would just want my story told,
Mm.
and so I would definitely utilize that.
Yeah.
I would say, oh, cool, there's this thing that makes animation stylized, and then every animator who does that for a living will be like really pissed, and how dare you, and what about our jobs? And I'm like, yeah, but my short didn't cost $1 million a minute. Pixar animators, Pete Docter is talking about this, they spend a week on 4 seconds. Okay, well, I understand an animator wants to spend a week on 4 seconds and he's feeding his family and his livelihood, but I just want to tell my story. Like, can I? No, unless something happens. So these very same technologies are fantastic if you have a story to tell, but that still doesn't solve the problem of how to make money because Christo has nothing to do. You telling your own stories is cool. I had fun making Christo, and we had fun doing our other short, Diaboli, but both of those are a shitload of money just out of my pocket into the garbage can.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
those aren't like money making things. So that has nothing to do with like me succeeding or financially or anything. Those are like one off larks, and we'll see if something happens, and there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that an executive might be like, cool, we like it, want to turn it into a show, and then even then it's not that much money.
Mm. Yeah, so tell us a bit about that, because to the outside world, they would see you seemingly coming out of nowhere with your first ever short and winning an Annecy. Like, I don't know how many people have done that.
Right.
So you've started with a bit of a bang, it's fair to say.
Hmm.
Um, but obviously, these things don't happen overnight. It's like someone entering the music charts at number one. They've done a lot of work, a lot of years in small bars
Yeah.
singing. So, how did it start for you with Christo?
I had this idea in high school. I pitched an idea. He was originally an effeminate barbarian. He wasn't civilized. But then the tropes of him being effeminate don't really work in 2025. Like culture's changed a little bit. So he was a little on the nose in his like, and the feminiteness isn't funny. So it needed to be a little more sophisticated. So he changed to being civilized. But it was literally an idea I had from when I was a kid that I was just nurturing, and it was my precious, precious baby of an idea. But I think the turning point was I wrote a feature script because I wanted to go make it in the big animation world because I had already succeeded in concept art.
Yeah.
And I got these big meetings at huge studios like DreamWorks, Netflix, Illumination. Got in the room. I learned how to pitch. I had a 15-minute pitch where I showed art, and the art was my art and other people's art. But like I run a concept studio, so the art wasn't going to be a problem. Awesome, awesome art. Here's the pitch. You would always tell the first act, leave them hanging, and then pretend like you don't have the last part figured out. That's the advice I got, and it works really well. So you tell the first act, and so usually at the end of the first act is when the adventure kind of begins. So you tell the first act, and then you're like, so that's kind of where I'm at with it, and then you open it up to Q&A, and they're like, oh, but what are you thinking happens? And you're like, you know what? Anything's possible, but here's one thought. But really, you've been like working on it for 2 years, noodling every line. You know exactly every beat, but you
Yeah.
kind of leave the last part of it for them to sort of fill in the gaps and sort of suggest, so they feel like included.
Yeah.
And so I pitched to like all the major studios, but people pitch for decades and don't have anything made. So that was my first time. They didn't. None of them picked it up. So then it was like, then what? I was like, oh, shit. All right. Well, I guess I just have to try to do it myself. And this was the incredible thing. And it wasn't like people were naysaying, but everybody was wrong about the process, about whether you could use mocap for animation, about so much about how it's done was wrong. It actually shook my belief in humanity. I actually don't trust anyone or anything anymore because of how unbelievably wrong high level professionals who've done this for their whole life were in terms of telling me what was possible.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, this is actually really hopeful and sad at the same time. Because humans are so collectively delusional and so based on their own incentives, and they can't help it, that if you dedicated your entire life to something, getting good at it, and tomorrow a tool comes out to make your entire life's work obsolete, as a human being, it's almost cognitively impossible for you to see that and be like, oh, okay, I guess my life's work is done. That's that now. I got to find something else to do. There's almost no human capable of doing that. I'm capable of doing it, I think, but there's so few people. So that doesn't happen just in an analog on and off, but it happens to varying degrees. So people that are paid behind, let's say, noodling something that's insignificant to the story for their entire profession, maybe you could have done that in half a day and called it done. But part of the problem is there's so much money that's already behind these big films, like $100 million. So nobody who works in that pipeline has a strong incentive to say, let's save money, let's get rid of jobs, let's, you know what, if I'm the production designer and I forget about AI, but I just have a strong vision about what it could be, even before AI, you could have taken a picture of Kauai and given it to the 3D artist maybe and said, hey, just make this but cartoony. And a really good 3D artist might have just done that and you might have cut out all of concept. You know, if you just have a clear vision, know what you want, and you care about not spending money, the amount of money you can save is unbelievable because these systems are built on institutional sort of thinking and on self-preservation. So if you don't have that, then you get to like reinvent it. And that's what I discovered with Christo and with Diaboli is that like, holy shit, everybody was wrong. If you just find the right tools, find the right people, then you can do something for 1,000 times less cost.
Yeah. It's definitely the plus side, I guess, if you can look at it, is it's democratized the art, the telling the story, getting your animation out there. And, now you're winning all the awards. So who's had the last laugh, even if you don't have millions in the bank yet?
Yeah, well, nothing's ever enough. But yes, the awards are really cool. I would have been super sad if we didn't win any awards. I probably would have been like, why am I even doing this? But,
Yeah,
the next challenge would be like, yes, I would like millions of views, on the shorts. I
that's
would also, and I would also like to see it on TV. But there is this kind of, there is this crossroads thing where there's so much art out there that sucks. And it's not about talking shit, because this is about me, let's say, and my close colleagues. We watch some animated film and we're like, that was dog shit for this, and this reason, right? And I would never talk about it publicly because it's not for that, because I know how hard it is to make something.
an
Someone
art is
could look at my
subjective
thing.
as well.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's objective in our view. It's subjective ethereally, but to the artist, it's not. It's actually objective. It's like, because if it wasn't objective to us, then there would be no way to make any choice ever. Because you could always be like, but someone else might. No, no. Your view artistically, the way I see it, has to be objective to you, and then open to feedback, open to thoughts from other people, maybe open to change, but it has to be objective to you, because when you have to make art yourself, you have to make clear decisions like this way or that way.
Yeah.
And the more, let's say, art you hate, like you see a movie that's really successful that you think sucks, you have to analyze why, and then you see something that like is super unbelievable that nobody's talking about. Those I can talk about, like Win Lose, for example.
Yeah.
Win Lose is Pixar's latest show, and it's incredible. I mean, it's mind blowing. And I didn't know about it when it came out. I didn't hear anybody talk about it, post about it. I don't know anyone who's even heard of it. It just came and went in a flash. I don't know why. There's
Yeah.
a directing duo that made it. I watched some of the making of, and it's profound. It's emotional. The art style is extremely unique, and it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So if you were someone at Pixar who spent all the time and money, or the 4 years that took to make those 6, 7 episodes, you might be like, shit though, we made the best show ever, but not enough people watched it. So now what? I don't know. You know, so as an artist, I try to I'm trying to deal with that to say, would I be happier making something that I knew was really good, but maybe it didn't pop off like that? Is that still an accomplishment? Or would it be better to make something that totally blew up that I didn't really care for or that I don't think is that cool?
Yeah. What did you choose?
I haven't decided yet. I think I need the accolades. I must be successful so that
Yeah.
I can feel like I'm good enough. But I should probably just, want the art to be great. Here's the thing. I'm only going to do what I think is great anyway. The only question is I'm not going to sell out because I'm too old and I have enough money. So there's no chance that I'm going to make something I don't want to make. So the only question that remains is will that thing pop off or not? Also Dream Studio. Dream Studio is another Pixar TV show on Disney Plus that's just incredible. It's incredible. And again, it's a spin-off of Inside Out. No one's talking about it. No one heard of it. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Oh, I'll watch those two. I just watched Alex Wu's new animation that's out on Netflix
Oh
tomorrow,
yeah?
I believe.
What's it called?
In Your Dreams.
Oh yeah? Oh shit.
Yeah.
I'll
It
check
was
it
pretty
out.
cool. I especially liked all the 80s references because he kind of influences, references the labyrinth. So
Oh yeah?
I love that with all the maze moving around, like the steps and all kind of swiveling around and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
I'll have to check it out. I also have a friend, Noran, that just came out with a short today called Gauze, and it's amazing. It's about Palestine. I'm Syrian originally, but she made. I grew up in the U.S., but she made a beautiful little short about Palestinian kids, also about obviously the crisis that's going on there now.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be like too hard to watch because I'm very connected to that and I know people there.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. It was really well
Oh,
done. It was 7 minutes and really, really cool animation, really cool art style, and actually an incredible story for such young, just getting out of college filmmakers. Like really cool.
yeah. Oh, I'll have to watch that
Yeah,
one.
Gauze. It's called. Yeah,
Goals. Okay, thank
Gauze
you.
like the rap.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. So just going back to feedback, you touched on it a bit. Did you get any direct bad feedback on Christo?
Oh yeah, I was working. So the two people that I work with mainly, and I highly recommend trying to find this person, which is like a brain trust, and it doesn't have to be more than one person, but it has to be one person who you trust. I know Aaron Sorkin, the famous writer, has like a brain trust of like one or two people, producers that he sends his work to, but they have to be the kind of person that knows who you are and what you're trying to do, and kind of shares your worldview a little bit. So for me, that's Bruce Straley. So Bruce Straley is the co-creator of The Last of Us.
Mm.
He was responsible for him and Neil, but both of them together responsible for the whole IP, especially the story in the first one.
Yeah.
And Bruce was especially kind of pushing on the levity, the sort of Ellie being jovial and fun, because Neil tends to be a little darker too. And I love the second game too. Bruce wasn't a part of the second game. I also like the second game. Yeah, the first game had this very beautiful dynamic between Joel and Ellie. So Bruce knows what he's doing, and he knows how to tell stories. He knows how to tell stories in gameplay. So he would always be my person that I would send versions to. And over the course of time, he's gotten a little more comfortable giving feedback that's brutal. And I also got better at hearing it because he is a professional at an extremely high level. And I only say that because Last of Us is good and successful,
Yeah.
right? So if someone has done something good and successful, I immediately defer to them. I'm not saying that's always should be the case, but I immediately defer to them. So Bruce, because he was so successful, he gives me feedback, and I was always like, huh, interesting. But I would take it full on. And so I would reinvent everything I was doing based on everything he said. But sometimes his feedback was vague. It was about a feeling. It's like, I don't feel enough of this in this moment. And now when he gives me feedback, I hear it, and I only do the things that I feel strongly about or agree with. Because at the end of the day, if I just am like a buoy in the ocean and anything he says is going to push me in a different direction, I'm never going to finish anything.
Mm.
We worked on a treatment for Christo together while he had some downtime for a year. Treatment. Because I wasn't decisive about who I am, what I want to say. I didn't have any confidence. So the good thing about the Annecy Award, more than just the crystal, is that now to myself, just in the process of making something, I can say, but if I feel it, then I trust me a little bit, and I don't have to just be constantly buoyed by every single opinion that comes in. I can stand my ground on a few things, not out of ego, just out of like, I don't agree fully with that. And
Yeah.
so we're working on episode 2 of Christo, and I just sent it to Bruce. Okay, his first round of feedback was it's an argument between Christo and Gary. Gary has a conspiracy theory, and Christo is poking holes in it. And so it's this fantasy conversation that I've had with cab drivers, with idiots on the street. I love this conversation. This 9/11 was an inside job conversation. I've had it so many times. And the crux of it for me, the fun part for me, is like inside by whom and to what end? Like George Bush was in on it. Why? To do what? To gain what? Like just finish your dumbass fucking theory. Finish it. Like finish who gets what at the end of it. It never gets to that point when you have a conspiracy theorist. It's always like, oh, the last stop they get to is like someone, there's a deep state. Yeah, but to gain what? Because humans operate on incentives. So if you have a conspiracy theory, let's figure out the incentives. So this was a fantasy argument I've always wanted to have. So Gary and Christo are having it about something in their world, and Christo is just bashing him. And Bruce said, I kind of think Gary is not that crazy for thinking what he thinks. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Because it's a conspiracy about this other clan getting destroyed, and the guy says the clan chief was in on it. And I was like, that's interesting. And he's like, yeah, I think you need to show the event that happened that they're talking about a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I have a very limited budget. I'm not about to do a huge battle scene with hundreds of barbarians fighting to show that this clan was attacked by Romans. So I had to come up with like 3 or 4 shots that are just moody, that show the other chieftain's face being really sad. Because once you see his sad face, you understand as a human looking at him in this one close-up in the montage at the beginning, you understand that, okay, he didn't do this to himself. How could he? So there's these little moments that he advised me to add. He didn't tell me exactly what to add, but he said, I need some understand the emotion of what happened so that I can side with Christo a little more.
Right.
And so that was it. It was super valuable. And I added those scenes, sent it back to him, and he had little smaller layers of notes that I may or may not do some of them. But that's kind of how I approach it now.
Nice. And is it true that you kind of modeled Christo on yourself a little bit?
Oh, it's 100% me, in my opinion, about everything. Unless he does something that gets him canceled, and then I have nothing to do with it.
Watch this space.
The problem with it being so much me is that, and I show it to my partner, Maria, and I show it to Bruce, is when Bruce says in the scene, he's like, I think Christo's being a little bit of an asshole. And what he's really saying is, I'm an asshole. Because I am an asshole. I was being an asshole to the person, and I've been stewing this argument for so long in my head, so sometimes I need to step back from it and be like, what is the other person's side? Because Christo's so me that I think I'm right. And when I have Bruce or when I have Maria look at it, my partner Maria, she looks at it and is like, we did this little short for Annecy where they wanted to be in the river, but they weren't supposed to. And it was her idea to say, the reason they don't let people in the river is because if they did, it would be overcrowded soon. So you need to add a scene at the end where they're all in the river and Christo is getting his comeuppance. He's realizing the mistake he made by saying we should all be in the river. That would have never occurred to me because I want to be in the river, goddammit, and I'm right. But I have these colleagues and partners who know me that'll be like, yes, but you're kind of an asshole. So you need to actually think about what really is the other side of this argument and let that other side win.
Yeah.
So with Christo and Gary, I realized that it's a battle. The main question of the story is it more important to be smart or kind? That's the constant argument that's being had. And if Christo wins by being smart, he's going to end up isolated because he's unkind.
Yeah.
There's nothing, that is the trade-off of being a smart asshole. But also being a kind idiot is beautiful too.
Yeah.
So in this political stage that we're in, we, meaning I live in Czech Republic, but that the United States is in, it's almost the problem of the liberal left. Obviously, Trump is a narcissist sociopath. So my political side is not necessarily left or right. It's just no narcissist sociopaths. But in that sort of argument, I start to see that whatever my team, the liberal side, are kind of dicks, and that's why they're condescending or there's a lot of moral superiority. So all of those weaknesses of, let's say, the quote unquote left are kind of the things that'll be fun to explore through Christo, since I'm kind of more in line with him.
Cool. So just for anyone watching, if you've got any questions, now's a good time to drop them in the chat and we will get to them. We're only going to be online for another 10-ish minutes, so get them over. So I just wanted to touch on the tools because I was I was watching the making ofs, which everyone can see on the OnePixelBrush YouTube and website. But I wanted to learn a bit more about that because you mentioned that you had a small team, and a lot of these making ofs are you kind of with tools like iClone, just to kind of doing mocap and the facial recognition and all of that. Could you have done Christo without the tools that are available now?
No, because the motion capture suit, the Rococo motion capture suit that cost $4,000, was necessary, and it has gloves and it has body. But I would say I haven't motion captured thoroughly another short. Well, we've done a couple quick things, but I would say we're almost at the point where you wouldn't even need the suit anymore. You could just do it with your iPhone, because there's an application called QuickMagic AI, and it uses AI to take a video that you just record with your phone. Just make a video of yourself with a clear background, try to make it easy for the AI. Doing the animation, and the QuickMagic AI, you just you get that video off your phone onto your computer, you upload it to their website, it goes to their cloud, it processes it, and it spits out an FBX skeleton, which is kind of the standard skeleton, and you can use that as animation. So that's what I'm always going to use from here on out. Probably might not use the Rococo suit anymore. I might if this QuickMagic thing isn't good, but I think that's exactly one of those turning point things where you're like, I paid $4,000 for the suit, I only used it for one short. Am I really going to not use it ever again? Maybe. Yeah. Or if you were a big studio and you had an entire warehouse with cameras, a full-on mocap system with the suit with the dots on it and 2 technicians that run it, are you really going to just record it with your iPhone and say that that's better? No. You're going to look at it and say it's not better. Because even if it's 1% less good, you're going to be like, that's not the professional way, because you literally can't deal with the reality that all of this is useless now. All of this money spent is zero now because a bunch of people in China came up with an app. So that's what's happening. And if you can adapt quickly, it's exciting. So the Rococo suit, I'm not saying writing it off. I don't know that it's not useful. There's an Accent suit too, but the Accent suit costs like $10,000 if you get the gloves with it, and Rococo's $4,000. Also, Accents to process the data wants like $2,000 a year or something last I checked. But all of these mocap systems are going to like transform significantly or collapse. Something, dramatic shit's going to happen, like it's happening to everybody.
Yeah.
So, but again, the bad news for them is the good news for Johnny kid in his bedroom wants to make a thing. So that's the body. The facial capture through iClone is done with an iPhone. I have it on a little mount at my desk, and I speak. I record my dialogue at the same time with a really good microphone. I speak, so it records my face and my dialogue right onto the character in iClone, and then I have it done. And then I do the body separate. I don't try to do it all at once, because you really need the nice mic and you need the facial, and that's okay to do separate. And then I do the body. I listen to the dialogue or turn it up on my computer, and then I act out the body to match, which is not difficult. So that's our process for it. Yeah, and that would be impossible. It would be impossible 10 years ago.
Yeah, I imagine. So we need to move on to Diaboli, which is the most recent short, which is also winning lots of awards. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a bit about the team with you behind that and how it got started?
So Christo was made with Blender and iClone, but Diaboli was done in Unreal. And we had a bunch of concept artists who'd never really done a short in Unreal before. Vike, Ney, and Leo Vero, and Anatoly. We had this amazing Ukrainian artist who had his own mocap suit.
Yeah.
He had an Accent suit. And they learned on the go how to do it. Now with Unreal, I don't know how to use Unreal, but I know how to use Blender. So I couldn't get in and do stuff myself. So the guys made this one, and all I did is provide direction and story. But that one, interestingly, Unreal came up with this thing called MetaHuman Animator. And it's still a facial capture thing off of your phone. It's the same thing as iClone, but somehow it's a million times better. So I don't know what they did with their application that captures face with so much more detail that you don't have to do anything to it. In fact, if you're a clean-shaven person and you can see the face clearly, you don't want to touch it. In fact, if anything looks bad in your film, just cut to the face, which is technically the hardest part because it'll look incredible with MetaHuman capturing it. So it's the same process, but a different app. But in this case, I had to hire actors because I wasn't doing all the voices sitting in my underpants. So the actors was tough because I'm used to being treated a certain way. Because in the concept art world, if someone works with me, they're like, oh, yeah, oh, my God, this has been my dream. I've always wanted to do concept art. I know OnePixelBrush. You guys worked on Last of Us. Yes. So they're just all real, yes, chef, I like to say. They're all yes, chef motherfuckers. Like, I love this. I'm excited about it. This is my passion. So the working relationship is easy and fun, and we're all on the same page. But as I've dipped my toe, I found this in the world of filmmaking where I'm nobody, quote unquote. It's hard to get people excited about stuff. So when I'm hiring actors, our actor Sinead did an outstanding job. Her emotions were really intense. She's an amazing actor. I saw some of her reels. I looked at a lot of, and by the way, I'm trying to find actors here in Prague who speak English without a Czech accent, right? So the pool is much more narrow. It's not Los Angeles. Whoever lives around here is who I have. But she was an incredible, she has a British accent naturally, and she's an incredible actor. But putting this silly suit on her and a funny looking helmet with the camera on it that she has to get into all these really intense emotions, it was very embarrassing for me because I'd never had to give my made up bullshit to another human being to watch them pretend like it's real. Because that's embarrassing. Like, I made all of this up, so now she's genuinely crying her eyeballs out for her dead son because I just told her to. It feels weird. So I was like, it was very vulnerable to have another person pretend to be these characters that you just made up. And then for them to do it, I also didn't have a lot of confidence to say, that was okay, but it wasn't quite what I need. I need you to do it this way. I think if I were to do it again, I would have a little more confidence. I would probably ask them to memorize their lines ahead of time. They were kind of just going on the fly. Because again, I'm doing some piddly shit with a weird suit. It does not even a real movie. Like, they didn't know what it is, right? I think now that they've seen the end result, and we had a screening here in Prague, they probably think it's cooler, or at least they can understand what the end result is going to be, so we have a little more credibility. But it's fun going from having a lot of credibility in one profession to having no credibility in another, and watching the way people treat you or excited differently or talk to you differently. This is true with execs and stuff too.
Yeah.
I have students emailing me every day, hey, could you please look at my portfolio? And now that I email studio executives, I'm like, hey, could you please watch my film? I feel a lot more empathy for them, and I try to respond to everyone to sort of pay it forward karmically.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, definitely have to pay it forward. We've got a question from George.
Yes.
He wants to know, when can we see more Christo?
So episode 2, my plan at the beginning of the year was to do 4 episodes a year because I felt like that would keep me on a schedule. But I have a baby, and I love hanging out with him, so I ended up leaving work at like 5 o'clock every day. It's super annoying. Family. I mean, geez. What about career? What about career?
Ah.
So So, but the episode 2 of Christo is basically, like we were talking about it earlier, is basically done, content-wise, subject matter-wise. It's shorter. It's a more narrow conversation, and I would hope to do 4 a year. That would be a nice goal. 4 5-minute, 7-minute shorts every year. It also, because I'm paying for them out of pocket,
Mm.
we're trying to get it down. I think my goal would be to get it down to $5,000 a minute. So if it was 5,000 a minute, then 5 minutes would be 25K. If that's doable, that would be a rate at which maybe I could make 2 or 3 a year, and not break the bank, not go broke.
Yeah.
But if it ended up being 10,000 a minute, it'll be 50,000. And the reason I say the numbers is because nobody talks about the real life numbers, and I
Yeah,
think it's super important and interesting to note
it is.
how much it actually can cost. And this is, by the way, that's the cost with me doing a ton of work and not getting paid. So that's not the cost if like a client were to call, because I would need to get paid and the artist would be billed at a much higher rate. This is me having a stable of artists who get paid only their rate, not the markup, not the rate that a client would pay.
Yeah.
And it's not paying me, who's doing all the creative work, a lot of the mocap, all the environment design. So it's not even an accurate number. 5 grand a
What
minute is
what
obscene.
what would be the number if like a studio was to make it?
I think for 8 minutes you could be looking at, I think a reasonable rate if you hired a studio for 8 minute short, 7 minute, maybe 5 to 7 minutes would be 250,000.
Oh,
Yeah, I think 200 250,000 if you got like a decent professional studio with all the different pieces to make this and all put it together. And I say that because from Diaboli, if someone were to hire us to do that again, Diaboli costs straight up cost about 90,000, 90 to
wow.
100,000.
Wow.
So, and we got some funding for about half of it, but the rest was on me. So, if we were to do that again, the artists would be billed at their billing rate. The cost of it would be a lot more. I would have to be paid, right? I'm not working for free. But Diaboli I did, but I probably wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
Like Diaboli won't get another episode unless someone pays for it.
Right.
Christo, I only have room for one passion project.
Yeah.
Christo is going to keep going because it's fun and because I can do it solo. But Diaboli would need someone else's money to either believe in it or invest in it or something.
Yeah.
And I want to say this too. Francis Ford Coppola, right? He made Godfather, which I recently watched. I don't think I'd ever seen it or I forgot it. Incredible movies, especially the first two. He spent 100 million of his own money
Oh,
to
really?
make to make Megalopolis. He was like, I want to make this movie, and the
Oh.
studios wouldn't make it. And he's Francis Ford Coppola, right? And he sold his winery. He's not broke or anything, but he's spent $100 million of his own
Wow.
money, and he's the director who made Godfather, and
Yeah.
still nobody was like, here's money. Kevin Costner also is making made a western, part one of a two-part saga. Also spent like 50 million of his own money because he just wanted to see it done, and nobody would give him the money for it because they're like, there's no market for westerns, even though Yellowstone did pretty well. Mel Gibson spent 20, 30 million of his own money to make The Passion of the Christ. He was rich enough. He was like, I love Jesus, and I got this story I want to tell, and nobody's going to make this horror show about Jesus dying. That's all the movie is. And that was a profound movie. I saw it. I didn't know anything about Jesus. And that movie got me asking questions because Mel Gibson made it, but he spent 20 million of his own money. Now, he got lucky. Francis Ford Coppola and Kevin Costner not so much. But what's his name? He got lucky, and Passion of the Christ made a ton of money, so he ended up way on top. But it was a huge risk on himself. And even Sergio Pablos, who made Klaus, which is one of the best 2D animated, not one of, probably the best 2D animated movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He was working on Ember, another movie that's incredible from what I've seen of it. And Netflix changed executive leadership, and we're like, no, we're not going to fund it. And now they're working on it. Probably, I think they're close to getting it going again. But like, this is a fucking brutal world.
Yeah.
If the most famous names in the world, household names, can't get their thing funded, and they're spending their life savings on it, then I think if you're an independent creator or person, you could be a little excited that things cost less.
Yes, definitely. Interesting. So we're coming up to time, but if anyone watching has any more questions, please get them in now. I've got a couple more myself, but it'd be great to have some more from the viewers. You can ask absolutely anything, so now's
Mm,
your chance.
mm.
I just, well, before my other question, I just wanted to ask, during this time now that you're in the sort of animation world, what has been the most surprising to you? I guess anything from tools to how people are reacting to Christo or Diaboli or
Um, I think I think the most surprising thing was how in the process of not just my thing but talking to other people is this thing that that I was just talking about, that no matter how successful you are, no matter how famous you are, so what, we won an Annecy Award. I know people that have won Emmys. It doesn't matter what you achieve. Doors and money don't fly open right now. So I thought, okay, I mean, I thought the best case scenario for Christo was either we get millions and millions of views or we win Annecy,
yeah,
right? And we didn't get millions of views, but we won Annecy. So, but Annecy didn't turn into like, oh my God, the phone's ringing off the hook. No, no, still like, and even if you see a beautiful short, right? Someone made an incredible, beautiful, gorgeous short. The guy who made what's it called? Feast, which is a Pixar short, one of the best I've ever seen. Patrick Osborne. He's working on stuff, but it's still, even he made Feast is probably the best short I've ever seen. It's not easy for him to just get money. Mark Andrews, who's a colleague of mine, he was the director of Brave, Oscar-winning animated feature. He's working on a lot of cool stuff, but it's not like he's got his own personal IP. Comes stomping through the door and like slams it down and be like, "I'm Mark Andrews, by the way." Doesn't work like that. Sergio Pablos with Klaus. So that's cool for me because it makes me not feel so bad. That like doesn't matter who you are. Like what catches is what catches. The only thing I'm just grateful for is at least I have a vehicle to keep telling these stories. And if enough people care about it and watch it, that'll be enough for me to be excited enough to keep doing it.
yeah,
So for me, that's the next puzzle to solve. Because
mm,
I can't be better than I am in terms of what I care about and what I want to say and who I am as a filmmaker. I can be as good as I am. Now the next thing is, can we figure out who wants to see it enough that I can feel like, okay, this found its audience.
yeah, yeah. That is a good question that
Yeah.
hopefully answer soon.
Yeah.
We've got to talk about OnePixelBrush a bit more
Oh yeah.
now that everything's turning upside down and lots of pivots coming up in the or divots coming up in the road. Have
Yeah.
you had to pivot your business strategy somewhat, especially now with the animation arm?
Yes, I think what we're going to do now, we're going to pivot into two things. And we've started doing it a little bit. One, instead of just doing concept art, which is already in 3D, we're going to help creators make a chunk of their level. So if you're making a game, especially if you're making it in Unreal, with all of our experience with Diaboli and Unreal, it's super easy for us to take our 3D concept, put it in Unreal, and let you play it. Um, Also, I know this from making two shorts, is the thing that takes a lot of time is iterative loops. You show this to this person, they show it to the director says to this person, and that upstream, downstream, that's 80% of your time spent. So if you let the same concept artist who created the original image make the level and do the lighting and the layout and the textures for the level, which our guys can do, then even if we are a tiny bit expensive, the amount of time saved is tremendous. So again, I'm looking where we can provide value. And in my view, us putting something in the game that you can run around and play, if it's Unreal or even if it's Unity, is hugely valuable because the obstacles you come across are way better solved by the very same artist who made the original
Yeah.
than by someone else who might be like, I'm going to match this lighting kind of, but not exactly. And you're like, no, 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 no. That lighting was tuned perfectly by that artist for a reason. That's why people liked it. And it's really hard for directors often to say, to get something and be like, make it more like the image. And they do it kind of like the image. And you're like, no, no, no. Exactly like make it exactly like it. Because you feel like you're sucking away their creative freedom. But
Mm,
really, you should just make it like the thing that you love, if you love it. So games is one thing. And then the other thing that we're getting into is because we have some filmmaking chops now, the most fun task for us is to create a film, an entire film virtually. Maybe we don't do the full animation, but like if someone had a short film or a film they wanted to pitch, our guys can create any space in the universe from zero to look 100% real. And then our guys can easily place actors in a scene. We can easily place lights. We can even use lights that are the real lights that you would have on a set, like the amount of wattage and all that. And we could frame and light shots for directors to help them visualize their thing. So previs, which companies do previs, but previs that looks great because it's not hard to make it look great. Looking great is 90% lighting and a little bit with materials. And then we also have many of our team that have their own motion capture suits, and so do I. So we can do our own mocap. We can grab mocap from the studio. So for me, the fun thing, the two fun directions for our studio is one, help us, we will make a chunk of your level for you that you can play, and we will make an actual cut chunk of your film virtually that you can watch. That's, I think, the natural extension of the fact that we make everything in 3D already, and our guys are good at, are such multi-talents. That's what I think the next step is, for us at least.
Nice, thank you. And oh, we're almost out of time, but we've had a question. Any thoughts on the Oscar-winning film Flow? Thanks,
Yes,
William.
yes. I mean, Flow is amazing. So Flow famously rendered with not cycles, EV. So Blender has two renderers. One is instant, and one takes some time to render. And he did it in EV because then you wouldn't have to watch, you wouldn't have to send it to the render farm to watch it render. Now, we have this Ukrainian website that renders our stuff for really fast and really cheap. There are some solutions to cycles rendering, but they did it that way. So it didn't look like cycles, but it looked really cool. The animation was great. The story was beautiful. What else was in contention? It was up against Wild Robot and Inside Out 2, I think, too.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Inside Out 2 is one of the best Pixar movies I've ever seen, so I don't think Flow is better than Inside Out 2. I think I was a little bit lost at the end of Flow in that I wasn't sure there was a big dead whale and the three animals were there, and I didn't quite track the end. It was a beautiful, melancholic end, but I didn't quite get it. And I thought Inside Out 2 was one of the best movies I've ever seen. But what I do love about Flow winning, it's great for me because it legitimizes Blender, first of all, and it says that a bunch of indie filmmakers, that movie cost supposedly, I heard, $3 million instead of 150.
Yeah.
So there you go. And it looked pretty damn good to the average person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love what it says, what it means for the industry, that everybody kind of said, hey, we want to support independent filmmaking and sort of give this film an Oscar, and it was really cool. But yeah, I liked Inside Out too, but it was still good.
Nice. Got a lot of recommendations today. I love it. Well, we're out of time because we both have to shoot off to other things now, but it's awesome to do this live. I think it adds a bit more energy to the chat and things like that. Not that you don't have any energy because you've got plenty of it. And I've got other questions that I really wanted to ask you, so maybe you'll come back for a part 2.
Yeah, let's do a part 2.
But for now, like, I loved this chat, so thank you. And I hope Christo keeps going. I genuinely found it so funny, so I'm really looking forward to the next one. And Diaboli was just beautiful, and, you know, we were able to see it again around Halloween time, which was awesome, because it's very, you know, much suits that dark.
Super Halloween-y.
Yes, exactly. So congrats to you and all the team. I thought it was just brilliant. So keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys. See you.